Picking a budget phone, specifically something under 10,000 pesos, can be a difficult thing to do. There are a lot of options to choose from, and at the same time, you have to set your expectations because these are budget phones after all. But what do you guys, our lovely viewers, often look for in a budget smartphone? Well, not only do these phones in this bracket have to be priced well, but they also need to perform, at least somewhat decently. In other words, they need to have good value for your money. If you check out what some brands are offering, you can tell the bar is getting higher and higher each year. With that, does the new POCO M7 4G still have a shot of taking a piece of the action? Based on the specs, it's just average apart from its large 7000 mAh battery and its high refresh rate display. But of course, real world use is a different story. Its best advantage though, the starting price is just 7,499 pesos. So will the POCO M7 4G be a competitive phone in this segment? Let's find out in this review. First up, let's talk styling. The design of the M7 4G looks nothing like the M6 series we were able to try out last year. This phone adopts a more minimalist design, especially for this carbon black color review unit which we have right here. The single rear camera is located on the slim vertical camera island. Yes, it might have two lenses on the camera island, but it's only a single shooter, which we'll talk more about later on. The rest of the phone though is made out of plastic. From the frame to the back panel, it's all plastic. It's not exactly the best feeling plastic out there, but the important bit is that it feels sturdy. There's no flexing when I try to bend it. And not to mention, it also features an IP64 rating for dust and water resistance. One thing I do have to mention about the POCO M7 4G is that it's quite a big phone. It's a bit longer and wider than what I'm used to, which did make it feel awkward to use at first. Despite its big size, it's relatively lightweight, weighing just 224 grams. It's also relatively thin too, measuring just 8.3 millimeters thick. For this black colorway, it's relatively smudge resistant. The only thing we'll be wiping down often is the camera island. I can't say for sure about the chrome silver or the aqua blue colors, but they do look fire from the photos. In terms of ergonomics, the volume rocker and power button are easily accessible on the right side of the phone. Meanwhile, on the left side, you get the dual SIM card slot, which also doubles as a micro SD slot. At the bottom, you'll find the USB-C port and a single firing loudspeaker. Overall, there's nothing too special about its design, at least for this black unit, but it does look clean. For what it is, the construction is solid and sturdy. It's just a bit big, but you'll get used to it after a while. Instead, what surprised me about this phone was the display. Since the M7 4G is a large phone, POCO decided to make use of its size by fitting a larger than usual display. The display measures 6.9 inches and features a full HD plus resolution with a peak brightness of 850 nits. As you would expect, it's not an OLED panel given its price point, instead it's an IPS LCD unit. However, I was decently surprised at how nice the display of the POCO M7 4G is. The colors are rather vivid and they pop out on screen if you're watching something colorful like a beautiful anime. The blacks aren't that deep, but there's no grayish color on screen. Thanks to its large size, it was very enjoyable to watch shows on this phone. Sadly, it only has a mono speaker which is easily covered by your fingers, especially if you're watching in landscape mode. Despite being a mono speaker, it is loud and it does have decent sound quality. Even when you max it out at 200%, there's no noticeable drop in quality. The vocals and mids are quite clear, but there's barely any bass, but of course that's to be expected. Not to mention, it also has a 144Hz refresh rate, which gives it smooth animations all around. It's best enjoyed for gaming, but I'll reserve my thoughts about that for later. It's not the brightest screen with only 850 nits max, which does make it a bit hard to see when it's very sunny outside, but from my experience with this phone, most of the time you'll be able to make out everything happening on screen, including taking photos. There are only two cameras on the POCO M7 4G. At the rear, you have a single 50 megapixel main shooter, which does come with PDAF. The second lens at the bottom, well, that's an auxiliary lens. The other camera is located at the front, an 8 megapixel camera for selfies. To be honest, there's nothing really to write home about the cameras on the M7 4G. The rear cameras perform more than decently when used in well-lit environments. It's overall sharp and the phone's algorithm does a great job of balancing the contrast, shadows, and highlights. However, the colors are a bit too vivid in my opinion, especially when it's very bright out. If you pixel peep, you also notice that the edges of some of the items in the background or even the foreground look a bit soft. Still, you can work with it. Just play around with the edit a little bit and it is decent enough for social media. media. The camera works best at 1x zoom, but 2x zoom is also usable. Just don't expect anything more when you go beyond that. The drop in quality is very noticeable. It's a similar story when you're shooting in low light. In low light, there's a lot of noticeable grain in the image. In addition, the colors are no longer that accurate too. While there is night mode available, it barely makes a difference when we compared using the regular photo mode with a long exposure. As for the video, the phone records at a maximum of 1080p at 30 FPS. The quality is very much identical to the photos we were able to capture. Decent during the day, not so decent at night. Remember, there is no OIS, so unless you have very steady hands, there will be a lot of noticeable camera shake in your videos. The POCO M7 4G runs on Android 15 skinned with HyperOS 2. The OS looks nice, and if you've ever used a Xiaomi phone before, it's very much the same. In general, it's very smooth and nice to use, but there are times when the phone lags or an app takes too long to open, even when I'm just going through the menu or even the settings itself. I'm not entirely sure if it's because of the OS, but I suspect it's likely because of the chipset. But again, we'll talk more about that in a bit. There's minimal bloatware, which is a huge plus. But what I didn't like is that there are ads and you get notice from them, which is very annoying. Granted that this is a budget phone, it doesn't come with any of the AI features on the higher end POCO models or even Xiaomi models. No AI eraser in the gallery or anything in the like. However, you do get Gemini Assistant and other Google functions like Circle to Search, which is a nice plus to have. Alright, so far, so good, right? Everything you expect from a budget phone. But here we get to the weakness of the POCO M7 4G. Performance. Given its price point, I didn't expect it to be powerful at all. I mean, I do have to set my expectations. This is just a 7,500 peso phone. And under the hood, it only runs a Snapdragon 685 chipset. Our specific review unit is the base model with only 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. Sadly, the chipset and RAM combo is very lacking for this phone and even the OS. Even when you're just going through the menu, you'll get the occasional lag. It also takes a while to boot up some apps. You can leave apps running in the background, but it's best to close the ones you aren't using to get a better, smoother experience. But for getting work done or just scrolling through social media and even the internet, it's more than adequate as long as the lag doesn't appear. With that, you can already expect what I'm about to say for gaming. It's not exactly the best phone to game on, and honestly, it's quite disappointing, especially since it features a display that supports 144Hz. It can run light games like Mobile Legends, but not on the max settings. And on a more graphic-intensive title like Genshin Impact, it was suffering from frame rate drops even when all of their settings were at their lowest. And I'm just moving the camera around too. There's already frame rate drop just moving the camera around even when you're not exploring the world. The good thing is though, it didn't heat up either way. So even after 10 minutes of playing, 15 minutes of playing, this phone stayed cool. The benchmark scores also backed up the lackluster performance we experienced with the POCO M7 4G. I mean, it even crashes trying to run the Geekbench Vulkan GPU tests. So that alone should already give you an idea of the performance of this phone, and you should definitely set your expectations if you plan on getting it. While the performance may be a bit underwhelming, we were very much impressed by the battery life of the POCO M7 4G. It packs a 7,000 mAh battery pack, which is huge for something of its price point. And even before running our benchmarks for the battery test, I could already tell this phone isn't exactly power hungry at all. I was able to use it for around 3 days straight without needing to recharge, and for reference, I was using it to mainly watch videos and even take photos and videos for this review. As for the benchmarks, it was able to record 20 hours and 57 minutes using PCMark's battery test, and the video loop test also gave an impressive score. With that, this phone doesn't need to charge that often, even if you use it a lot. Charging speeds are decent too, with 33-watt wired charging. It even has 18-watt reverse wired charging, allowing it to be used as a power bank of sorts. The POCO M7 4G definitely has a lot of potential. It features a large 6.9-inch display with 144Hz refresh rate and a huge 7,000 mAh battery that lasts a very long time. At the price of 7,499 pesos for the 6 plus 128GB variant, it would have been a solid choice overall if not for the lackluster performance. There is an 8 plus 256GB variant available too, for only 8,499 pesos. And I'm genuinely curious if having more RAM would have improved the performance of this phone. But from our review unit, it's hard to pick the base POCO M7 4G given our experience with it, considering how competitive this segment of smartphones has become. And what we find frustrating is that this phone definitely has a lot of potential if the performance issues were addressed, and best of all, the price point is retained. Nonetheless, if performance isn't exactly important to you, then you really won't be let down by the phone's decent display and really long battery life. Would you cop this for its affordable price tag, or would you pick something else? Whatever the case, share your thoughts in the comments down below. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like and subscribe to watch more. Don't forget to follow us on the social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. And of course, visit yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. Once again, this has been Jose. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.